I don't know, but I don't want to. One thing I don't want to do is till the end of this class. I'm trying my best. We must not miss any class again. So, so we have this part. So how do I bring this file, this particular file? How do I bring that Excel file? It might be an Excel file, it might be a CSV file. But looking at this now, this ended with .csv. The CSV file online. So how can I bring this CSV file? How can I bring it online? So how can I bring it to my Python model? That is, how can I bring it inside this Jupyter notebook? So let me call. I can decide to. I just want to create a variable to store that part. I want to create a variable to store that part. That's the first thing you do. You create a variable to store that part where you can find that file. So I'll call the name of that variable part. So I decided to call this part. You must have started with your import pandas as PD and import numpy as np. Reason because majority of the functions you'll be using, they are either pandas functions or numpy functions. So if you are not bringing them in, if you've not brought pandas and numpy in, then you'll be having a bit. So let me run this. So now the next thing is I have my URL already, and it's from this URL I want to get my data from. I want to store that URL. I want to store it with a variable called path. So I can just say the path equals, then I'll put the URL inside a double quotation. So it is here already. I can run that. Once I run it, once I run it, then how do I see the file? How do I read it? So how do I read an online file? And I've created the path already, don't forget. So don't forget, it's going to be pd.read underscore csv, just like the way we read the one on our local computer. Let's say the file was on our local computer. We did that last week. So it's going to be the same way as this. So now, what am I having? What am I having? You know, if it was before, if it was that it was on my local computer, I will have pd.read underscore csv. Then I'll have the part, this part, I can have it here. I can have it inside this bracket. But since I already saved that part as a variable, so I can put it here. Now, what does this mean? Header equals none. It means that, okay, this particular file, I've downloaded it. Look at it here. This is it. So now, because I have this file, I can see there is no header. They didn't give us any header to this file. You understand? So once I load it, it's going to assume the first row as the header. And the first row is not the header, right? The first row is not the header. So they didn't give us the headers for this particular table. So what do we do? How do I bring it in? And I have to tell Python that, okay, there's no header. So you need to bring it in such a way that there won't be any header. So what I will do is I will tell Python that, okay, after you bring it in, comma, the header equals none. That is, there's no header. Header equals none. No header. That is the meaning. So once I run that, once I run that, and I want to see, maybe I want to see the first 5 rows of my table. So if I click on this, I did something on head last class. So df.head. Once I do that, I'll be able to see the first 5 rows. So what will happen to our headers? Python will automatically generate headers for us. Like this is the first column, the second column, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Do you understand? So Python automatically generates. So now we have our own. We've listed out the headers we want to give it. These are the headers. So how do I add those headers to this? I hope you are getting what I'm saying. How do I add those headers? Those headers I have, how do I add this to this? So I'll have something like this. So now I want to have a list of all the headers. All the headers that I want to put, the 25 headers. Everything is 25. So all the list of all the 25 headers accordingly, I've stated it somewhere. Then I'll put them in a list. I'm not putting them in a tuple, and I'm not putting them in what, a dictionary. So I have to put them in a list. So it is from that list I'll be able to distribute for each column. Mr. Ario, are you understanding the concept of getting a list now? Hello? Someone asked that they already doing, they have, I think it's Mr. Temitope Ario. Okay, let's continue.
Yes, you said?
So you are the one asking about, you understand the whole thing, but you don't understand how we will be applying them, right?
No, I think Mr. something Dara or something, but I don't get
No,
that
it's
too as
Mr.
well.
Michael. It's Mr. Michael.
Okay, Mr. Michael, okay, okay. Mr. Michael,
Yes.
now for me to add a list of columns, a list of headers to this our table does not have an header. So I want to add headers to everything. So what do I do? All those headers, they have to be in a list, right? Thank God we already understand the concept of list. So I have to put everything in a list. It is Python that generated this for us. Python also generated this one. Don't forget, these are the index that will come with your table that Python will generate. So we did that already. So now we already have a list of all the headers we want to use. If you count all of these, they are 25, separated by commas. So we have symboling. So the first one is going to be symboling. The second one is going to be normalized losses. So that is what we have here. So now I've not done anything to this table. I've not attached this table to this. I'm just saying that okay, I want to save a list of all the headers inside a variable called headers. That's what I've done. So that's what I did here. So I've saved it. And here I'm just saying print what is here. Then I already told you the meaning of this slash n. That is move to the next line and print all the headers for me. That is all the headers that we have here. So we're going to print it. So headers slash n means next line. Then we print all the headers. So we have this. So now, how do I now put those headers inside this particular table? The name of this table is called df. Don't forget. The name of the table is called what? Df. I know we don't forget that. So now, so I have something like this. So I will tell Python that my df table, the columns of my df table is equal to the headers I created. That variable I created, that is the headers of that table I created. So this is how I can actually put in the headers of the table. So and I can say, okay, once I've done this, then I can say, okay, I want to see the top 10 rows. Once I run that, then I'll be able to see the top 10 rows. Now, because symboling is the first, symboling is the first list, is the first item on the list here for our headers. That is why symboling is the first column here. Till this point, do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now looking at our table, let's access our table. Let's access our table. So we have symboling, we have normalized losses. I'm not really going into the details of what this table is saying. I just wanted to see what we have here. We don't worry about. We have this is about cars generally, sharp. Then we have it fuel type gas. We have um, we have all these that have a question mark. I think question mark we don't know the meaning of question mark. You see have some columns here. That's why it's writing this one. You see have some columns here. Don't worry, we'll get to where we will see everything. Then if I want to see, I have 26 columns in total. Then I have stroke, fuel system, um, peak RPM, city, highway, the price. So now, Anyway, I'm having issues around having this question mark. What does this question mark mean? Even if you don't want to highlight anything, this is how we start claiming in our Python. So you've noticed that you have question mark, right? And you want to start claiming this. You want to start claiming all of this. What do I do in this case? I need to start removing this question mark. So instead of having question mark, I should have something like maybe no value or near or no value, anything. But question mark does not really make sense. What does question mark mean? So instead of having that, I want to say, okay, instead of having question mark, so to replace the question mark with NaN. Are you getting what I'm saying? So you want to represent it with NaN. NaN means no value. That is, there's no value there. It's empty. So it's either you say, okay, you want to write it as, I can decide to replace it as something else, something like, let's replace it with no value. So I run this. I ran it already. Hold on.
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
The one that was there before, it was the np.nen. How come this one doesn't have np? I thought it's like
Yeah,
a
we are coming there. We are coming there. I want to explain how to replace first. I remember what was there before was np.nen. So I want you to get what I'm saying.
yes.
So now I've replaced that question mark with no value, right? So there are some cases where you know what you want to replace with, right? You are not replacing with no values. You are replacing with, maybe you know what to do inside that particular place, or maybe they misspelled it. Maybe in a case that instead of having this, let's assume you have instead of writing no value, I wrote no val, no val. So now, and I'm supposed to write no value. So if I want to replace it, so I'm going to be using this particular one. So replacing does not really mean you are changing from a no value to a particular value or question mark to a particular value. It might be between two valid values. You might have two all through here, and you want to convert all those two to three. You might want to convert maybe three to four. So this is the same way you will do it. So now, why am I having? I don't have I have np dot n a n. Yeah, this is what I had. So now, why am I having this? Now, my table. Look at this. The name of my table is what? This is my table, my original table. So now I want another table such that it's going to have the same value as all of this. Just that anywhere we have question mark, it will have no values. So I'm having two tables. So the name of my new table is going to be df1, normal df. So how will I assign df? Df1 now is now going to be our normal df. Because I want to have two tables, I'm not using the same table. If I want to use the same table, I'll just say df here. I'll put the same df here. So now because I want to have a new table called df1, so I will now say df1 is equal to df dot replace. So what am I replacing? I'm replacing this with a null value, a valid null value, a valid one. That is, that place is empty. That cell is empty. You know, if I write something like this, if I write something like this, can you see? This place is not empty. Oh. There's a value there, and the value I'm putting there is what? NaN. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is perpetual. Are you in class? So what I'm saying
We've
now
got
is,
it's clear.
okay. So now what I'm saying now is, I'm not just replacing with NaN. I want to replace with a null value, something that would make Python understand that this particular place is empty. It is a null value. If I'm putting NaN does not mean null. NaN means, okay, I'm putting NaN in that particular context. But what I'm doing now is I want to replace it in null value. Then I'll go to NumPy, the NumPy library, and I'll tell NumPy library to give me nen, because there is already a function in NumPy called nen that is used to represent null values. Do you understand? So I will tell, if you look at it, I'm not putting this in the quotation again because this is already stored. It's a stored variable already. When I wanted to use pi, when I wanted to use pi that day, I used np.pi and it gave us that 3.14 something. So here I'm going to use the same thing here. So you can see from here. Okay. So you can see from here that it has stored it. Now this NaN and the former NaN that we wrote before, they are two different things. So this one now, you might just be seeing it as NaN, but this is really showing null values. You understand? This is really showing null values. So if I've written it like in a double quotation, it will be showing it in another way. So now, let me call this df2. So these are rows of cars, right? They are rows of cars. This is telling us for each type of car, right? And the last thing on each column is the price. Price. Can you see the price? The price. So what we want to do here, hold on. What we want to do here is to drop places where the price is NA. That is where places where the price is empty. I want to drop places where the price is empty. Then I want to use that as a new one. I'm dropping places where the price is 0. That is empty, not 0, empty. So I can do something like this. So looking at this now, not like it's removing all these ones. This is not price. This is where we have price. So all the prices will be same here. There won't be any empty prices. There won't be any empty prices. I hope you are getting
Mr.
it.
Ahmed, what does the axis equals 0 mean?
Now, axis equals 0 is showing for rows. Axis equals 0 means rows. So I'm dropping those rows. Do you understand? Those rows where price is NaN. Do you understand? Axis equals 1 means column. So, and if you have a long list, like a long table, a wide table, a table that has maybe like 100 columns or 200 columns, and you want to see the name of all your columns, you can just call it out. TF dot columns. TF dot columns will show you all your columns. TF dot columns will show you all your columns. It's not compulsory you put it inside the print statement. You can decide to just write it out. df dot columns here. So you can see it. Still the same thing. You can decide to put it in the print statement. Now, how do I save a table in Python? I have a table already. You know, the table that we brought in, this is the table, right? No header. I've been able to redefine this table. That's giving me a new table to be able to give headers to this table. You've been able to give headers to this table. And that is now a new table called df. How do I save it back to my computer? No, it is not on my computer like this. It is still on this particular Jupyter notebook, right? It's still inside this kernel. So now, how do I save it? To save, is going to be df, the name of my table, dot to CSV, because I'm saving it as a CSV file. Because I want to save it as a CSV file. If you want to save it as an Excel file, no problem. I'm saving it as a CSV file. That is going to be it. I hope you are getting what I'm saying. I'm saving it as a CSV file. Then the next thing here is going to be the name you want to give that particular thing. The name you want to give that particular file, that particular CSV file, the name you want to give it. And I'm giving it, let me give it something else. Let me give it cars. Cars. Now, what does index equals false mean? Who can tell me? Index equals false. What does it mean?
There's no index in the table. You didn't put that 0, 1, 2, 3 that normally have on the table there.
So now our table, our original DF has 0, 1, 2, 3. So me saying index equals false, this is the index, right? So me saying index equals false now is that why you are saving the table? I don't want to see all these index, because normally you are the one that brought it in. So when you are saving it for me, just remove it. I don't want to see it. But if you are saving it like that without telling me that index equals false, it's going to assume this for you. So this is going to be coming out. So if you are saying index equals false, then this is out. So if you really want the index, you can just say index equals what, true. Do you understand? So index equals false means that it's not going to be doing that for us. So to save the DF using a file name automobile where index equals false means that the row name will not be written. So let's have this. So that's it. That's it. So now let me go to my file manager and look for cars. This is it. Hold on. So that is it. So hold on. Sorry, hold on. So this is it. The first one is not coming out as an Excel file. If you look at it very well, it's not coming out as an Excel file here because I didn't put that .csv. I'm sorry, I didn't put that .csv. So if I'm putting a CSV, that is whatever you want to save it as, then .csv, then it's going to come out as this. The first one, look at the first one I did when I ran it as first. Can you see? This file is not a CSV file. Like my normal Excel will not open it. But if I open this, this is it now. This is what we brought in from. This is what we brought in from our. If you notice now, no question mark. It is now what? Blank. If I have written NAN, you would have been seeing that NAN here. I hope you understand. So now we can see that we have all our what? We have all our columns. We have all our columns now. This table is different from the table we brought in into Python. So I hope you are getting what I'm doing. Can I move on? So this is how we do it. So if you want to save a CSV file, if you want to read it, that is maybe you want to bring it in. The CSV file and you want to bring it in, you use what? pd.read underscore CSV. And if you want to save a CSV file, it's going to be what? df dot, that is the name of what? The name of that table dot to CSV. Then you put the name that you want to use is saving that CSV. You put it here. So this is how to read it. Read it means how to bring it in, and this is how to save it. This is how to save it. So this is for CSV. This is for JSON files. There are some files we call them and I think this is JavaScript. JavaScript. So this is Excel. This is HTF. This is SQL. So this is how to read SQL files. This is how to save SQL. So now there are a lot of things we can still do, right? There are a lot of things we can still do. So now Python has a way of summarizing a long list of having a long list of parameters describing our numerical columns. When I mean numerical columns, I'm talking about columns that involve numbers. So like this one now, row base, ng size, all these things. I can easily say, okay, for all those columns that have what numerical columns, just describe them. I can just say, okay, that table just describe. Describe is going to bring out all those columns that have numerical values. So it's going to do the count. How many of them are there? That is the count. I think the first thing is all of the first thing brought out. Is this symboling? So count means I'm counting it. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and everything is what? 201. Everything is 201. That is the count. And the count of this one too is 201. The count of this one too is 201. So that is the meaning of count. So that was what it did. So what is the mean? Mean of this column. Look at the mean. The mean of this column is this. 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 So it has done the mean for us. The standard deviation, the minimum. This is the 25% of that table, of that particular column. Sorry. This is the 50%. 50th% means median. Same thing as median. I think this is the first quartile, second quartile, third quartile. This is the third quartile, and this is the maximum value. The maximum value in this particular column. So I can actually see the maximum value in all the columns. So this is like a brief way to describe everything, all the numerical columns in our table. So why are we not seeing for columns that involve text? Why is it only numerical columns? If you want to see for columns that involve text, no wahala. They are all here. So you just have to say that include all. After the end of describe, then you put include, then you say what? All. All. So you're telling it that I want to see all my columns. So for these cases, what is it going to do? It's not going to tell us that okay, since they are text values, they are not values, they are not they are not numbers that I can add or do some calculations on them. So that's why you have all this NaN means null. So that is why we're having all of this. I hope you can see how flexible this thing is. Now, can I just describe maybe for only one column or two columns? I don't want to see everything. I just want to describe 2 or 3 columns. Yes. So now, let's assume I want to describe for the length and compression ratio. The length and compression ratio. What will I do? I have to have it like this. Why am I having it in a double bracket? Who can tell me? Someone should please help us out. Why am I having it in a double bracket?
So you can show up as a table, if not, you not show up as a table.
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm putting it in a single bracket, it's not going to show as a table. So putting it in a double bracket now is going to show up as a table. So I can easily say that okay, this is what we want. Now, based on what I was saying initially, let's assume that this particular table that you gave us now, you want to save it. I want to save it as a CSV file. What do I do? I want to see this table. I want to save it as a CSV file.
Sir, sorry, I'm struggling to hear you.
I what of others?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know. Maybe it's network. Out of now, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now, let's assume that this table now, I want to save this table, this one that Python is showing me. I want to save it. I want to be seeing it on my local computer. What do I do? Then I'll have to save this as another variable. Let's call this variable um, describe. Describe equals this. So I've been able to do that. So if I want to save, so who can tell us how to save it now? How do we save it? And I want to save it as
That
an
is
Excel file.
describe dot. What's the
Let me
command
do
for save?
describe. Okay. Dot.
Uh, I think to save CSV or to CSV.
So I'm not saving as CSV now. I want to save it as an Excel file, not to CSV. So now let me
Then
show you.
to Excel.
Have you seen this? So describe dot to what?
To Excel.
Excel. So
Open bracket, then you put the name you want to give it.
thank you. To Excel. Then open the bracket. Please hold on.
I think the name is supposed to be in quotation, Abi.
Yeah, it's going to be in a quotation.
And to be followed by dot x. What's the short? What's the name for Excel? EXL, I think. Not sure. I can't hear you.
So now, sorry, I said you should give me some minutes. I'm coming. I just had to do something. So now, what do we do? We call it what? What's the name of our table? The table. How we want to see it in our local computer. What should we call it? Should we call it describe to? That is the name you'll be saying. Oh. What should we call it? Nobody's saying anything. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I can say describe, describe. It's going to be in a quotation, sorry, in a double quotation. Describe. Now it's not just going to be describe, it's going to be dot what? Dot something. So what do we use at the back of Excel files? You should know that now. This is what you see at the back of Excel files. Do you understand? Then I can have my index equals false. So I run that already. So I can go to my file. Let me search for describe. Have you seen it? This is it. So this is our file. Length 201. Same thing as what we have here.
Mr. Ahmed,
Yes, sir.
you left out the link to transfer the like, shop.
I can't hear you.
I said the Excel file we you opened it didn't have the description like the mean count 25%, 50%.
You already said that was the index, right? So I
So
already
we
said
shouldn't
index. So I already said index equals false.
Ah,
I really forgot
okay.
this. But I already said index equals false. If you look at this, what's our index? This is our index, right?
Yeah,
And because
yeah.
I said index equals false, that was why it did that. Okay, let's run it
Sorry.
again. It's not going
So
to
she
read.
probably want to do that in this case.
So now, thank you for that. So I can just decide to remove this. Or you better still, you can just say, so I ran that already. So let's look for it. I'll have to describe. The first one is still there. Hold on. Let me save it as something else. Describe one. Yeah. So I ran it already. So let's go and look for it. Yeah, this is it. So can you see it?
Now it has meaning.
Now it has been the main idea of what I was doing before was just to show you how you can save. Do you understand? How you can save, and let's move on. So now you want to get information. How do you get information about your data? To get information about your data, like this for each column, for all the 25 columns that we are having, I want to get if the first one I will get in is total number of non-null count. Do you know the meaning of non-null? Non-null means now the total number of, I think the total number of columns there is 201, right? So now here I have 201 rows in this particular column, symboling columns that are not empty. So 164 here are not empty. So if 164 are not empty, it means that some of them are empty there. So this is the information this one is giving you. And it's going to give you the type of data that you have in this particular what column. So for symboling, that symboling column, the type of data that we have there is what? An integer. The type of what data that we have in that symboling column is an integer. For the next one, normalized losses, the type of data that we have there is an object. If you look at it, an object. Even if you are seeing numbers there, you are seeing numbers. Sorry, where is it? You are seeing numbers, but it's seeing it as what? An object. An object is something like a text, something like a text. So that is the way it is seeing it. We get to where we can convert. We can convert to data type. But data type should be what? Should be an integer, so or maybe a float. A float means decimal. An integer is a whole number. So the first one is what? Integer, which is a whole number. It's saying this as an object. So it's because it's seeing it as an object, it means it's seeing it as a text. Make is seeing it as an object, and there are no what empty cells in that column. This one too, there are no empty cells because everything is full one. This one, there are how many empty cells? How many?
199.
No. There are 199 non null. So how many empty do I have?
2.
So I have two empty cells there. So I can easily see that okay, these are the columns where I have what empty cells. These are the columns where I have empty cells. So now, so how do we get our missing data? How do we get our missing data? Now, the missing values are converted by default. We use the following function to identify missing values. There are two types of method to detect missing values. So let's try the two. Now, the first one, what does it do? It's going to give us our table, right? It's going to return back our table. But in this case now, it's not going to tell us. Look at this. Okay, let me just before this. Now, if you look at this is where our table is starting from. Is this empty? No. Because it is not empty, it's going to write false. This is not empty too, it's going to write false. This is not empty too, it's going to write false. For those ones that are empty now, this is empty. So it's going to write what? True. So that's one of the ways you can see what empty cells. So anywhere we have false, so I will know that that place is what is not empty. Anywhere I have true, it means that place is what empty. I have true, true, true here for normalized losses. That is the first three. For normalized losses, the first three. That's why I have NEN, NEN, NEN. Are we getting it? That is the first one. Let me know if I can move on. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Yes, sir.
Nobody answered me. I said, let me know if you can move on.
Move on.
You can move on.
Okay. Okay. So now, don't forget, these normalized losses, the Python here is seeing it as what? It's seeing it as a text. It's not seeing it as what? It's not seeing it as a normal number. It's seeing it as a text. I want to do something. I want to replace these missing values with some statistical value that is the mean. So anywhere I have NEN, I want to replace with the mean value of this column. Let's assume that when I calculated the mean of this column, the mean is made 34. So anywhere you see this NEN, I want you to be replacing this with the mean, which is 34. So how do I do that? The first problem I'm having is that this column, Python is not even seeing this column as a number. That's the first problem. It's not seeing it as a number. It's seeing it as a text. And you can't find the mean of the text, right? So there's a problem. You need to convert first. You need to convert. So after converting, then you can find the mean and you can slot it in. So those are the steps. So what do we do? What do we do? So now, let's find the average first. Let's find the average. That is the average of that column. How do I find the average? I want to save it as a variable. So this is where I have the average. The average now is going to be what? That column. How do I get the column? This is the column. That is normalized losses from the F table. Right? Normalized losses from the F table. Now I have to change the type. I have to tell Excel that as type, change it to float, not more what? An object. An object means a text. So I don't want you to see it as a text. I want you to see it what? As a float. That is the meaning of as type. That is the meaning of as type. Once you have converted it to what? A float, find the mean. Is it finding the mean of the columns? No, it's finding the mean of the rows in that particular column. That is why axis is equals to 0. I'll start again. I want to represent the average of this particular column. I want to represent it with a variable, and the name of the variable will be what? Average norm loss. How do I do that? How do I select a column? We already did that last week. For me to select this column, I'm going to write the name of the table and I'll put the name of the column inside the square bracket. Then I will tell Python. I would not have done this. I would have gone to this step. But because Python is seeing this particular column as a text, because it is seeing it as a text, I will have to convert that column to to values that will look like numbers. Sorry, to values that Python would assume as numbers. So I'm going to say see this as a float, that is a decimal. Float means decimal. So I'm changing the type from a text, that is from an object, to what? To what? A float. If I want to change it to an integer, I'll put integer here. When I'm changing it to a float, that's why I'm putting it here. Float. So once I'm done converting to a float, then I'm saying once you are done converting this particular what column to a float, find the mean, then axis equals 0. Find the mean, axis equals 0 means I'm finding the mean of all these rows, not rows like this one. That is, I'll add all these ones together. As it's going down, those are the rows, right? I'm finding the mean of all of them, those rows.
You mean that column?
Yes, that column.
That's the
The mean of
column.
that column.
Okay.
Look at it. So I'm adding this one plus this one plus this one. And you see I'm going down the rows, right? Till it gets down. So that's what I'm doing. So now,
Is that the meaning
Sorry,
of
so
the
when you're
float?
adding the column,
what did you say, sir?
so when you are adding the column, axis, I thought the axis is supposed to be 1. You
I'm
said
not
for
adding,
the rows.
adding like plus, adding like I'm adding, or you know, if you want to find the mean of anything, you add them together first, then you divide by
No,
the
I
total number.
understand.
So
Is
if
the
I'm adding,
axis.
yes, not like I'm adding a new column. I'm not adding a new column. I'm adding up all these values. As I'm adding up all these values, is it not down the rows?
No, I understand what you're saying. I thought you said axis is equal to 1. You say axis is equal to 0.
Axis is equals to 0 is because I'm adding up all the values in the rows of that column, right? So now I said print this. That
So
is,
if
you
you
need
had
to.
said axis equals to 1, what would it then do?
It would have done it the other way around. Like it would have been adding up across columns, something like this. Do you understand? Do you understand, sir?
I
I
get
think
you.
that
I've heard.
Yes,
I think there's a place
yes,
where we use something
yes.
like that. Let's see how it goes. So now we have average of normalized losses, and I already understand that you know the reason why I did it like this. So it's going to come out like this too. Now we've done this. Python has calculated it. Fine, it has not given us our answer, but now we are not calling it out. That the answer that you got for this, that we saved as a variable called average norm loss. I want you to write it out for me. I want you to write it out for me. Once I'm done, then I'll what? Run it. So can you see? We've gotten it that the average norm loss is what? 122. 122. So now I've already understood that the average now is 122 for this column. For this column, the average is 122. So anywhere I see this NAN, I want to replace with what? 122. Don't forget, we replaced question mark to NAN. Now I want to replace NAN with what? That 122 now. So what do I do? So to replace, sorry, to replace this now, NAN with 122, we're not going to say this column, that is that particular column in our table. How do we select that column? The name of our table, then we put what? The name of the column inside. Just replace, because I want to replace. What am I replacing? I'm replacing numpy's NAN that we had before. The numpy's NAN that we had before. I want you to replace it with what? The average norm loss that we have here. And the average norm loss is 122.0. In place equals true. What does it mean? I want you to save it permanently on that df table. In place equals false means it's just saving it temporarily for the next analysis you want to do. My df normally is still having that NAN table. In place equals false means temporarily just for the next analysis you want to do. But in place equals true is that df table. I want you to save it permanently. So anywhere you see that NaN value, I want you to put 122 permanently. So while I'm using my GF, while I'm using it, anytime I'm using it, it's going to be saying 122 instead of what NaN. But if I'm saying in place equals false, it's just going to work for that analysis I want to run on that particular what, on this particular cell here. Once I move to the next cell and I want to use DF will still have NaN because I didn't tell it that I should replace it permanently. I hope you understand. So in place equals true means permanently. In place equals false means what? Temporarily. So it has worked. Forget about all of this, don't worry. So now I've been able to replace it. Let's see. Let's call it out. Df dot add. So it has replaced it with what? 122. Any question before I move on? Okay. In the absence of no question, let me just move on. So now I want to calculate the mean value of another column. Don't forget, this particular column, so you're seeing it as what? A text. You're seeing it as a text. So I don't want to waste too much of time. It does something like this. So for all those columns that it is that have null values, for all those columns that have null values, I want to replace those null values with the mean of that column. So ball, that ball column has null values too, and I want to replace it with the mean of that ball column. It's just the same step as what I did here. So what do? I find the average, I change the type to a float, I find the mean. Once I find the mean is 3.3, then I run it. Then I replace the NaN, that is the null value that was here before. I replace with what? What I got here. That is the average for in place equals to, you already know. At least you have to what? Replace it permanently. Now I'm getting an error here. Who can tell me the reason why I'm getting an error? Look at the error name. Average for is not defined. That is, I didn't run this one first. This average for this particular variable has not been saved to Python yet. So I have to run it. Once I run, then I can run this. That's what. That's what. I'll do the same for this again. That is another column that has the same problem. So if you have columns that you want to do, this is how you do it.
This is more like cleaning.
Yes, we are cleaning. It's not like more like cleaning. We are cleaning. This is cleaning.
Is that a common practice to replace empty cells with the average of the normal cells?
Yes, yes. Majorly, there are some columns that you don't want to leave. There are some cells that you don't want to leave empty. It happens a lot, and it's even going to happen like in major part of. There are some cases maybe you want to um, replace them with the media. There are some cases where you want to replace them with the mid. There are some cases where you replace them with the mode. Do you understand? There are some cases like that. Let me give you an instance. Let's assume that you are working in Microsoft, and they are getting all the. You just entered Microsoft. Nobody knows your position, whether you are the manager there or whether you are a senior. Nobody knows. They just know that you are working in Microsoft, and obviously your salary is going to be dependent on your position, right? So then they ask you that they ask someone that how much is that person collecting. Let's assume it is Mrs. Perpetual that is working in Microsoft now. Then they ask that okay, how much is she collecting? What will you say? Because you don't even know her position. So what do we do? In terms of salaries, what do? We get the media. That is, you look at the whole database of Microsoft and we get the median age. So even if you go to Google to look for how much Microsoft is giving their workers, they are going to tell you that the median salary. Let's try and do something like that.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
So why are they using median instead of mean? As in,
yeah,
instead of mean.
yeah, they use average here, but it's always median. Hold on. Okay, I think they are listing it for. Someone should give me a company's name. A non-company. I don't want to use Microsoft.
Use Google or Airbnb.
Why are they not using average? It's always median. It's always median, and I'll tell you the reason why they use median. So now, um, I don't know why it's not showing, but it's always median. They'll tell you that the median salary is this. So now let's see the reason why they use. If I'm using mean, mean is going to be biased in such a way that let's assume that Mrs. Perpetua is going into Microsoft as a cook. She's not going there as a technical person. She's going into Microsoft as a cook. And let's assume that the manager is collecting 100,000. Okay, let's assume the manager is collecting 1 million. And let's say a cook is collecting like 50,000 naira. Manager is collecting 1 million. Um, um, then we have assistant manager, we have some other positions. The central tendency that will not be too far from every other part in the media. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. The central tendency that will not be far from every level of staff they have in the media. Look at it now. The gate man is collecting 30,000 naira and the manager is collecting 1 million. The manager is collecting 1 million. Other staffs, I have two managers. Let's assume that I have two managers. The first one is collecting 1 million, second one is collecting 1 million. And the
Sorry, Mr. Ahmed, is your shared screen changing? Mine is just as it is.
no, it's just as it is. I'm not changing anything.
Okay, okay. I just want to know his network.
Okay. So the first manager is collecting 2 million, the second manager is collecting 2 million. The third manager is collecting.
The mean is like somebody in the middle.
The median is now okay.
The
Okay, let me just
median.
explain. Let me explain. We're having the first manager is collecting 2 million, the second manager is collecting 2 million. So, sorry, 1 million each, and the gate man is collecting 30,000. So everything is like 2 million 30,000. To get the average, I'll divide that by three. If I divide that by three, hold on. So I have 2 million. 2 million 30,000. If I divide it by three, so that's around six. Let's say 700,000. That's around 700,000. So if I had done the median, what would be the median?
1 million.
What did you say?
1 million.
No, no 1 million.
What are the salaries? 30,000.
30,000. The two managers are collecting 1 million.
Okay. And 1 million. That's three people in total, right?
Yeah, three people in total.
1 million.
And then it's 1 million.
Yes, now you would arrange from the highest to the lowest. That's 1 million, 1 million, 30,000. The middle figure is 1 million.
Yes. But the median in this context is not telling us that those two 1 million, we assume it as one. Do you
But
understand what I'm
this is
saying?
complicated. It's like 1 + 1 = 1.
Now, the median I'm talking about now in this context now, you divide it, and if you are going to assume it as one, so the median in this case now is like 500,000. 500,000 is still kind of closer to the gate man than the 700,000 here. But what we use is the basis of what I'm trying to explain is the median is shows a better representation for everybody in the whole company than the mean, because they've done the analysis and they believe the mean is kind of biased towards some people. So now, in the class now we have look at another one. We have Mr. Michael, Mr. Dara, Mr. Ariel, myself, making four. Then we have three females, four males, three females. So in this case now, if someone else is joining this case, there's a high probability that the person is going to be a male based on the demography of what we have here. Let's assume that someone joined, but we don't know the person's gender. We don't know the person's gender, and someone joined. What do you think we would assume the gender as? And we need to put the gender.
No,
What did you say?
we would assume it's male because that's the higher percentage from the existing data we previously have.
Thank you. So in that case, which central or tendency are you using? Are you using the mean, median, or mode?
In that case, we're using mode.
Thank you. So you see cases where these things are kind of. There are some cases where you would need to use the median. There are some cases where you need to use the mode. There are some cases where you might want to use the mean. That's what I'm just trying to explain. So, um, hold on, I'm coming. Where did we stop running? Okay. So, where is this one coming from? I'm trying to get where I got this from. Let's kindly ignore that. I don't know where this is coming from. I think we've done something like this up already. That's why I'm trying to say where this is from. Let's continue with this. So, how do I convert data types? How do I convert data types? So I noticed that um, for our table, that bar column and the stroke column, they are they have values that are numbers, right? But the data type is coming out as an object, that is coming out as a text. Then I want to convert it, and I want to convert it as. Don't forget that what we did initially was just to convert what we had here to get the name, not like we converted that column. I hope you got what we did.
Understood.
What we did, what we did is that it was because I wanted to get this name. So what I did was that I just converted this one for the sake of getting this value. That was what I did. So for the sake of getting that value, I just quickly converted it to what a float, and I found the mean. And when I finish finding the mean, that one does not mean that column now is what a float, because I just wanted to find the mean. That was what I did. But now, how do I really change that column to the valid data type? There are some cases where you don't want to change the type of that column, but you want to find it's coming out as a text, but the values you have inside they are numbers, and you don't want to change those numbers to integers. You want to leave it like that, but you want to find the mean. So how do you do that? That is why we use that first method. What I just said, do you understand? Let me have um, let me have something like this. Let me assume that this thing is a number. Let me assume that this thing is these are numbers, right? If you look at it, the other type is showing number. Now let's assume that. Let me take it back to text. Have you seen this? It's now a text. This is an object, right? Let's assume I want to find the mean of all of this. The mean of all of this. And I don't want to convert the data type. I do not want to convert it from text to before I will not find the mean. I want to find the mean without converting this data type. There are cases like that you want to face. This particular data type is valid. You want it like that. You want it as a text. But you want to find the mean. There's no way you want to find the mean of this and it is a text. It's not possible. Even Excel will not give you the average. You have to convert back to what? Numbers. When you convert back to number, then you can find the average. That is the reason why we did the first one. That doesn't mean you've converted that column to a float. So how do I really convert that column to a float? Select that column that you want to convert. Look at it. I selected that first column. I selected the ball column and the stroke column. And I want to convert them to float. That's why I'm putting float here. To convert it like that. Normalize losses. I'm converting that one to what? An integer. I'm not if it was I was converting this one to a float, I'll put it inside this one. I'll just put comma here, I'll put normalized losses, and everything will be a float. But because I'm converting this one to what? An integer, then I can do this. Price to float. I think price is not coming out as an object. That is why we are not putting it here. Whatever you are converting, what they were before and what they are going to has to be the same thing. Ball and stroke, they were objects, and we are both converting them to floats. That is why we are putting them together. Normalized losses, I think it is an object, but we are converting to what? An integer. Price, I don't know what it is. We are converting to a float. You can check it up there. Or better still, it might just be that okay, maybe it's going from object to what? To float. You can put it inside this one, it's still going to work. Then the peak RPM is still going to be the same thing. You are converting, and this is how you convert. Whatever you are having here, you put it back here. Dot as type, then you put the other type you want inside this place. You put the other type you want inside that same place. So now if you now check, is the normalized losses now is now an integer. Before it was an object, it's now an integer. Ball is now what? Float. Stroke 2 is now what? A float. Price 2 is now what? A float. Price 2 is now what? A float. We are not doing daily. We are not doing daily. If you look at the whole concept of gaming is where you use where you group. Remember when we built using that age group? So don't worry, we're doing visualization very soon. We're doing visualization very soon. So we're not going into this is another thing. So from what I've explained now, any question? People don't have question now. There's
You
no
need to
question.
help us with the video. I missed some parts. I was my network. So if you can help us with video, we'll be able to go through it and digest very well.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Getting the video now is not as smooth as it was before. Hold on, I'm coming.